Hi, Jasleen, are you there?
Can you hear us now?
That was a bad combination. How are you?
Jasleen? Hello?
Al, can you hear us?
Yes, I am home and on Zoom. I could come to the meeting, but I would probably start the meeting here and then let Martin take over for the first item on the agenda.
Where's Al?
Does that sound okay?
Yes, I'm gonna just run it by Rob real quickly.
No, we have to have a break. Nice try.
Al is gonna start the meeting from there and then make his way down.
That's fine.
Al, that works, thank you.
All right, I'll start the meeting here and give the preliminaries, and then I'll run up there and Martin could, as I said, take care of the first item.
Sounds good. Can you hear us though?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
I don't see anybody, but I can hear you. I could see everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, boy.
The door is locked outside, so Brad just let me get over here.
Tell me when you're ready.
All right, Al, I'm here.
Yes, okay.
All right, Roman, can you hear us?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Al, we're all here then?
All right, I will start. Good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Albany City Planning Board. We have two parts of the meeting today. One is the public meeting itself, and then after that, public hearings. The first item on the agenda is the public meeting. Go over the rules of procedure. With the public meeting and public hearing, they're the same, and that is that we will have a presentation by the applicants. If we have not seen the project before, the applicant has 10 minutes to present. After that, the planning board will, members can ask questions for clarification, anything that they want to know more about the project itself. After that, we will hear from the public if there are anybody that wants to make any public comments. As you know, you have to sign up for that. We don't take anybody walking in or who haven't signed up. That's a procedure that is followed by all of the city commissions and boards. The public has 3 minutes to present, but we also encourage all of you to send us notes or letters so that we have them on record, so that when we need to refer back to a project, we can with a full file. And also it allows you, the public, to review documents when you need to. After the public makes a presentation, we will hear from the planning staff. and get its professional opinion on the projects themselves. And then after that, the applicants have a few minutes to make any clarifications or rebuttals. So with that, I will turn the meeting over to Martin Hull, who is our vice chairman. I am home right now, but I'm going to make my way up to the planning board room. I was delayed down south and I just got home, so I'll be up there shortly.
Okay, thank you, Al. First item tonight will be a presentation on 21 Erie Boulevard by 21 Erie Associates.
Good evening to the board. My name is Joe Panicero on behalf of Redburn Development Partners. I'm just going to be back in front of you tonight. It's been a few months. Hopefully won't take too much time tonight. Pretty simple request, I hope. We are proposing to paint the tank in the back of Huck Finn's, formerly Huck Finn's, now Slip 12 is the new name we're going with. We're proposing to paint our new logo on there, as well as install a new sign that promotes our 4 commercial tenants on top of the tank. I'm sure you're familiar with the tank. It is the one that Huck Finn has sat on for decades. And we are looking to sort of update that, give it a fresh coat of paint, as you see there. That's our new Slip 12 logo. And then the 4 commercial tenants, Huck Finn Home, which is the second generation of Huck Finn store, the Real McCoy Brewery, relocated in Del Mar, Power the Gym, which is already open, and Motor Oil Coffee, all to be open this winter. I think we separate this into 2 applications, one for the actual mural on the tank, and then one for the sign. That was a request of the planning staff. There is some descriptions there on the size. Both of these are smaller than the tanks themselves. The purpose is pretty straightforward. We're trying to promote not only our new mixed-use property, but the warehouse district as a whole. I think we all know it's 80,000 people drive on 787 a day. If we can get even 1% of those to come to the warehouse district, that would be a huge change for that district and help us accomplish, I think, what the city accomplished with that emerging region. I'll take any questions. We can take these one at a time. I know we went through the review criteria with the staff. You're welcome to read those. I mentioned most of them. We're going to use materials and paint that doesn't require much maintenance. These are located high above the ground, hopefully away from any chance of vandalism. We don't believe they cause any noise or sound or light like that to neighboring properties. Any questions?
Okay, got any questions from the board? I have one. The water tank is no longer in use, correct?
That's correct. It was closed by the DEC in 1997. Hasn't been used since it was built as a paper mill. The building was built as a paper mill way back in the day.
Okay, thank you. Jasmine, any comments from the planning department?
So as it was stated in the notes, the application was reviewed for the review criteria. It meets most of it, except the question was about the maintenance and sun exposure of the signs. It is visible from 787. It does provide that point of interest and clarifies the use of the building. It is also per the review criteria, it is an unlisted action as we consider seeker determination of significance. But other than that, no additional comments.
Okay, I see we have 3 recommended actions. Seeker negative declaration, straightforward enough. But then the other 2 read exactly the same. Is there any proposed language for the actions?
No, I don't believe so.
It would be, it's essentially the same action you're taking, it's just one is display application 06, and the other is 07, so I would reference those when making the
Okay, thank you. So if there's no other questions from the board, we'll go ahead. Do I have a motion on the secret negative declaration? So moved.
Seconded.
By Chris, and seconded by Lindy, very sorry. All who in favor say aye.
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 Oh, sorry about that, Roman. Passes unanimously. So recommend action 1 on the display on walls, structures, or sites. Item number 6, we're looking for an approval. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Very good. All in favor, say aye.
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 It passes unanimously. The second, third action rather, concerning displays on wall structures or sites. Application number 7. Application 2 or motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
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 And it passes unanimously. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I invite you all down to slip 12. We're moving along nicely.
Does that refer to a slip on Erie Canal?
That's right. Yep, it's one of the old original slips.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so now we're going to move to the hearing agenda. And the first item will be 44 Delaware Avenue and 234 Myrtle Avenue. Presented by Ron Stein. We have a presentation.
Am I walk through this?
Yes.
This is for a parking lot comprising of 16 parking spaces on the corner of Delaware and Myrtle, across from the Price Chopper. There'll be a future building in front of it, but right now this is just for the parking area. That's the location there. This is the area. We'll have the right amount of trees, lighting. We've been through the city on making sure we meet everything. There'll actually be some artwork as well, some statues. Fencing, historic fencing around the, gated fencing around the area. Well lit. Not much on it. Just on the last one, there'll be handicapped parking accordingly with a large spot, accessible. This is just the existing conditions now. There'll be some, it's overgrown, not great grass, there's some concrete. We'll have, there's an existing entrance that will just move slightly away from the other buildings, so it's a little clearer, a little safer to move in and out. Allow for all the distances, the proper distances, proper lengths for the parking spaces and the distances between pulling in and out. It's just another view. It's pretty basic.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Let's see, okay. Any comments from planning staff?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple of brief adjustments to the plan incorporating some drainage and fence along the, I think, next to the adjacent residence to prevent lights from the vehicles shining into windows in that building. Other than that, relatively similar to what we saw at the workshop a couple of meetings ago. This is the public hearing for the conditional use permit, so just reminding the board to make sure we accommodate any public comment. And I can certainly speak to, would now be the appropriate time to speak to the recommendation? Or do you want to take comment first?
Let's take public comment first.
Quick question, hold on. Will this service, this would service the new building that's diagonally across the street?
No, it's gonna actually service the building behind it, which will be coming on Lark and Morris. So it's sort of like at the corner is the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
Then you have the senior center, the restoration, and a building behind that. And then behind that's that lot, that's empty lot, that I got off the ACDA, and 353 Lark. So there's a corner empty parking lot where, just parking lot, I guess, people park there, but trash and everything else goes on. But that's been empty for a while. So that was approved several months ago, about 6 months ago, I think. And in order to get the parking, we looked in the area, and it's just over 300 feet, so it's 390 feet. I went and got the zoning approval for going 90 feet over, which was approved. So that will service that, and straight down the road. You can actually see it from the property. It's just right around, it's just right down Myrtle, and you're right on the.
Is it that, I just wanna be clear, is it that building that's across from Handicapped Middle School?
That's the senior center.
Okay.
I'm across the street from that, on the other side.
Oh,
There's an empty lot,
okay,
2 lots actually.
right, okay. I really found out, thank you.
Okay, and are anyone signed up to speak from the public?
No.
Okay. So then why don't we go ahead and,
Yeah, so the applicant satisfied all the requirements of the USDO, also had all the department reviews from water department, engineering, traffic engineering, and DES. County has provided a recommendation to essentially defer to the local jurisdiction, which in this case being the planning board. And there was one comment related to the height on the detail for the fence. There's a reference to both 4 feet and 6 feet. The area or the location where he's looking to place it allows for up to 6 feet. So we believe that's something that can be resolved in the certificate of appropriateness application, whether they choose to go with 4 or 6 feet. It's not really an issue so far as we're concerned. So we would recommend approval of the various considerations here. That would be a negative declaration under State Environmental Quality Review Act, the conditional use permit approval, a waiver for one development standard allowing parking within 10 feet of the front lot line, and the approval of the development plan with 2 conditions, again, to obtain a certificate of appropriateness as we discussed for the fencing along the perimeter, and to consolidate the 2 tax lots that make up what will be presumably 234 Myrtle Avenue, because that's where the curb access is, or whatever we choose to assign this parcel.
okay, thank you.
I have one additional question. Can you, if you've gotten that far in your plan, can you describe the type of fencing you're gonna put in that area?
Yeah, so the on the public access side,
Okay,
that's wrought iron. I'm working
Okay.
with Aaron in historic to
okay,
make sure it's the proper wrought iron. That's why it's the 4 to 6.
Yeah.
Probably that's the 4 foot, similar to price jumpers, but very nice
yeah.
and up and standing straight, and a little more historic. And then on the interior, 6 feet high, so, and more stockade to block the lights.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And there was a lot of confusion because there were recommendations. I think I got 4 different recommendations from 4 different, the zoning board, the 2 different departments, and so I'm working with, like Brad said, I'm working with Aaron and the appropriateness to get it right, but I think it's wrought iron on the outside and stockade and blocking, light blocking on the inside.
Thank you. And then,
Okay, if everyone's set, then let's get to the proposed actions. The first is negative declaration, a secret negative declaration of the project. Do I have a motion on that?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Everyone in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, it passes unanimously. Second recommended action is to approve a conditional use permit for parking on the site. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Everyone in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, it passes unanimously. The third action, a waiver of the development standard requiring a 10-foot setback for parking. To approve such a waiver. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Everyone in favor, please say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. And finally, a recommended action to approve a development plan with conditions. Condition number 1 being prior to the issuance of a building permit, a certificate of appropriateness shall be obtained as required for the perimeter fencing located along Myrtle and Delaware Avenues. And condition 2, prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall consolidate tax lots known as 48 Delaware Avenue and 234 Myrtle Avenue. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thanks, 191 North Pearl, approved here before, ribbon cutting tomorrow opens up. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, the next item on the agenda, which is the second item on the public hearing, is 69 to 85 Sherman Street. The applicant is the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York. And this is to construct an approximately 19,000 square foot parcel that would include a parking lot. And it would comprise 44 parking spaces. The actions that we are considering tonight is of course, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, the conditional use permit for the lot, development plan review, and 2 waivers. This is a project that we have seen on more than one occasion, I think at least three times over the last, I think, year and a half. So we'll ask the applicant, Lansing Engineering, to maybe just give us a quick overview, as we've seen this before. So you have 6 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Mike Robertson. I'm from Lansing Engineering on behalf of Legal Aid Society. And what, as mentioned, Legal Aid is proposing a parking lot, 1 continuous parking lot on originally what was 9 separate lots on Sherman Street. Since this project started, those lots that are currently in R2 on that map are now have been changed to the MUCU. So that just the GIS mapper hasn't been updated yet, but just to clarify that. The combination of the 9 parcels, or I should say the consolidation, the 9 parcels have been consolidated in June of this year. So it's 1 parcel now. Zone MUCU. It's approximately 0.45 acres total. It's on the east side of Sherman Street, as you can see. This is the existing survey, existing condition. One thing to note on this is that one structure at 77 Sherman Street here no longer is there. There was a fire and that building had to have an emergency demolition and has since been removed. So the parcels are vacant aside from a small parking area that the Legal Aid has, approximately 12 spots that they use currently. So that's just the aerial of the area of where the parking lot is. You can see it's directly adjacent to 95 Central Ave where Legal Aid is located. So it'd be very convenient to service the staff visitors or clients of legal aid. And this is the proposed layout of the parking lot. There's 44 proposed spots, 2 accessible spots. There's a retaining wall that wraps around the back, not the street side, obviously, but the far side and the northern side. There's a guide rail that'll be on the back side of that parking lot, as well as a privacy fence to screen the parking lot from the existing residential on the northeastern side of the parking lot. All the stormwater from impervious surfaces that are being created on this project will be captured in a subsurface stormwater system that will tie into ultimately the combined sewer located in Sherman Street. That stormwater system has been developed per New York State DEC regulations and Albany Department of Water regulations. This is a shot of the landscape plan. We have 5 street trees proposed with street pits. That was per the guidance of the Albany Forester. There's 7 are actually required per the zoning, but they prefer less with larger pits, better survivability rate. And there's several trees located in and around the parking lot as well. Couple waivers that we're requesting to go along with this. One being the location of the parking spaces within 10 feet of the front setback line. I don't think in this situation that would be a drastic waiver in this case, is the surrounding neighborhood adjacent across the street is a parking lot. The parking lot will not face directly, the front lot does not face directly to a residential area. So it's consistent with the character and the existing development in the neighborhood. Also, requesting a waiver in regards to the street amenities that are required. Per the code, you would need 5 amenities. In working with the planning department on this, they suggested, and Legal Aid Society thought this was a great idea. Instead of locating a bike rack or trash cans or benches all along Sherman Street, they're going to propose to locate a bike rack on the Central Ave side in front of their building that could be used by employees that currently have to bring their bikes inside, and or clients or visitors or anybody could use it. But it would be a more used spot for something like that. And 5 additional items along Sherman Street, I believe, would create more of a busy sidewalk per se, and a larger maintenance item for the city as well.
Okay. Questions by the board?
I think there was an issue over snow storage. How do you propose to handle that one?
Well, there isn't a lot of room, obviously, for snow storage. There is a small area on the southern end of the parking area that could be used. If that's, yeah.
That's good, Jim. Can you point it out with your pointer?
So this end of the parking lot could be used for snow storage. That's a grass area. Obviously, it's not very large. When that becomes full, the owner will have to have it hauled off-site. So they do the exact same thing across the street. The parking lot there, there's really no place to store snow, so the contractor has to haul it off-site.
What are we looking at on the right-hand side there? Is that a slope?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. Up or down, I guess, would you say?
Down.
Down.
Sherman
Yes.
does this,
Okay, okay.
because it goes underneath the bridge.
Right, okay, thank you.
Question regarding, and this is my lack of knowledge, regarding accessibility to the building from the parking lot. Is there direct access to the building, from the parking lot to the building?
No, there's access from the parking lot to the sidewalk, the existing sidewalk on
So
Sherman
the
Street.
employees would have to walk around to get to the parking spot, parking lot?
Theoretically, yes.
Oh,
Currently, there's no crosswalk right there, a mid-block crosswalk. No, there isn't one, so I don't think, I wouldn't recommend that. Mid-block crosswalks tend to be dangerous, because once people get in a crosswalk, they feel very comfortable. And if you're coming down the street, people aren't gonna think that there's a crosswalk.
No, that's fair. I just, I think my concern is more safety, especially at night, if somebody's like working late, whatever, and they have to walk around, will there be adequate lighting and everything? Because that's the other part, there's residents there too. They don't want the light shining in their window.
Right, well, the parking lot itself is lit per the
Okay.
code. I can't speak to the rest of the street in the neighborhood.
But just following up on that question, is there a rear entrance to the building?
There is, yes.
Okay, so they don't have to go all the way around
That
from
was
the
Central,
street?
no.
Yeah, that was my question, I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry, that was my
sorry.
initial question. Is there access to the building from the parking lot? So I thought, well, you asked it better.
Right, so they use an existing parking lot immediately behind the building
Okay,
and an entrance behind the building.
okay,
So
so
they
then
would
they can
come out
access
that-
the, so they don't have to walk around?
No.
Okay, that was my question, thank you.
In reference to the drainage that you mentioned, are each of those pits that you showed, those drainage pits, are they all tied into the city system?
Yes, there's, if you could go back to the layout slide. There's, I believe, 3 catch basins on the southern end. It's hard to see on this picture, on the southern end of the parking lot, where all the runoff from the parking surface is directed towards those catch basins. It'll go in those catch basins. There's a subsurface system there, basically subsurface chambers where the water will be detained, and then it's released at a certain rate back into the system in the street.
Okay, then, what are, going back to the other slide, what are those big round circles that are farther up?
So those are all proposed trees.
Oh, those are part of the landscaping plan, okay. I thought that that showed on another slide, that's why I was confused. So you have the trees, and then the catch basins are on the lower right-hand side.
Right, but they're all within the pavement.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay, we have 2 people who want to comment. I believe they've also filed letters with planning staff. So if we, folks, come on.
Good evening. My name is Marcia Ormwood, and this is my husband, Garrett Johnson. Our concerns on this property are, okay.
I'm just going to put this a little closer to you so everybody can hear it.
Okay. Okay. Our concerns are, 1, there was a fire at 77 Sherman Street, and we have a shed on the back end of 77 Sherman Street, and it melted some of our siding. I want to know if the owners of 77 Sherman Street are going to make repairs to the back of my shed. My other question is, the pitch on this lot, is the pitch going towards Elk Street so that when it rains and the snow starts to melt, is it gonna run down on Sherman Street or is it gonna run towards Sherman Street? Because if it's gonna pitch towards the back end where you're putting up your wall and it starts to melt, that's eventually gonna deteriorate my property. So that was the other one.
Another thing in terms of, you're talking about a contractor coming in and pushing the snow to the side, that's unacceptable. Because we already have existing parking lots in the area where they just come and pile it up in the corner and it just inundates the houses. It ends up in people's basements and it's nothing they can do because there's so much water. And if we catch one of these 100-year storms, we're gonna be in big trouble. Because that water's gonna find its lowest point, it's gonna enter our buildings. Another thing we have intersecting fence lines with the developer. At one point in time, one of the properties that they are developing, we own. We had gotten permission over 10 years ago. We put up a fence. The fence has to come down. The last meeting, I seen Dan Hirschberg. I put him on it so that way he can restake our property. So that way, when they want to do their development, which we don't really have a problem with their development. We embrace development. We don't want to stand in the way of Congress, but we want them to make sure they make us whole on our building. And if they're gonna be kissing our building with that wall, and they're gonna be moving the fence line, I wanna make sure my property is protected because we have a exploding homeless population over there. They shitting all over us, literally. One of my neighbors adjacent to us, she's got to install cameras. She's afraid they're gonna come in the house and get her. All on Sherman Street, when you enter Sherman Street, that's their area, and they go into the parole department parking lot. We get another parking lot over there. They used to have security over there, they used to have off-duty police over there. I wanna know if they're gonna be able to do the same thing over there, because we have a big problem over there. When people start congregating, if they have beef amongst themselves, they start brandishing weapons, the whole 9 yards. We have a hard enough time getting the police to come over there for the vacant buildings and all the other issues we gotta deal with. You know, and this is a big concern about us. Don't get it twisted, we're not trying to stand in the way of commerce. We want them to be able to remove the snow, don't just push it in the corner, because we live there, we know what's going on over there. And pushing snow in the corner, that's totally unacceptable, because you wouldn't want that done in your neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. The time's up.
I have one question for clarification. In your letter, you had mentioned that there was a problem with, let's see, I'm trying to remember, I'm trying to visualize the letter. There was a question I had.
Keep coming. It referred to the property where you have The fence?
the fence,
Yeah.
but there's an overlap between your property
Right.
and their property.
Right, 71, 73 Sherman Street. Their property line is intersecting with the back of our existing property, which we have it fenced off. It's about 10 by 5 feet. I'm not sure exactly all the particulars. I'm not gonna meet them with any opposition, but I don't want them to open up the fence. I'm unaware of it, and then someone comes over there, God forbid somebody gets hurt, and I'm not in the loop.
Okay.
I wanna put my fence back up so that way I can protect my property.
Right. The other question I had was in your letter, you had mentioned that, and maybe I didn't quite get the way it was worded, but you said that one of the times when the folks from the office building, that's where legal aid is, they come out and go into their cars in the parking lot. They come out with guns and they
No,
start.
I was referring to the parole department, when the parole department was there.
Oh, when it was there.
When the parole department was there, they used to come out, they have a beef, and then they start brandishing weapons. That's the reason why they had an off-duty cop in uniform stationed there overtime at that location every day.
So this was the previous tenants.
Right.
And, yeah, because I had a hard time believing that the members of the staff would come out with guns and fight each
From the
other.
parole department, they had pistols.
Okay,
They carry pistols. They would have a problem, and by the time we would be able to call to get to the police, explain in great detail what was going on, there was gunplay involved.
okay, that clarifies it, thank
You
you.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So, these are things that we wanted to share with you guys so that way you can understand our predicament. We don't want to stand in the way of progress, but another thing I want to add is that several years ago on Sherman Street, just like he said, he's going to go into that sewer system. They had something dislodged in that system, and that whole system in that particular block backed up, and all the water from Sherman Street ended up on Upper Street.
okay.
Can
I think your time was up, but I appreciate it. Unless
we
you have a
get
question.
can we get their address for the record? Because I'm trying to visualize where their house is in relation to,
266 Elk Street.
thank you. Okay, so you're on the next block, I get it. Okay.
All right, now, the applicant will come and address some of these.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you could clarify, or especially regarding the snow removal and the drainage, as well as the shed?
Yeah, I guess to reiterate what was said before in regard to snow removal, a majority of the snow is gonna have to be hauled off-site due to the lack of storage on the site. So there won't be massive, stockpiles of snow. The parking is very valuable. They're not going to pile snow in the parking spot, you know what I mean? We want to use the parking spot, so it's gonna be cleared and hauled off the majority of the time. I guess I can't speak to what was previous happening there with the parole department. That was a previous tenant. I'm not familiar with that situation. As mentioned before, all stormwater runoff will be captured from all impervious surfaces within our stormwater system. That system was designed per DEC regulations and the City of Albany Department of Water regulations as well. It has been reviewed by the Department of Water. We've made some adjustments to it per their review comments. We've addressed all those comments since. The condition of the parcels after the construction of the parking lot, there will be less runoff than there currently is right now. We will have less water leaving the site, which is per DC, Department of Water regulations.
That includes any snow that may be piled up, because you said you're not gonna haul all the snow, there still will be some snow remaining.
Right.
Which is a small amount if you have a large storm. But does that runoff include that snow that will be remaining on the site?
The stormwater system is designed based on rainfall.
No, that's not,
No, it's
okay.
not.
My next question is just more of an ask than anything else, because they said that even though it's outside of our purview, it would be nice if you guys were able to get with them regarding the damage to their shed. So,
Yeah, no, I've noted that, and I will get with legal aid.
You don't have a representative from legal aid here today?
No, unfortunately, no. No, I've noted it, and I will talk to them about coordinating the shed work.
Okay,
as well as the location of the fence as well.
yeah, if you can talk with them about that issue, that's outside of our purview, we can't help, but since you're here.
Okay, now we'll have a presentation from the staff. And before you begin, I do want to ask that staff follow up with the applicant to make sure that they address the problems that were raised by the residents in a timely fashion, and not forget about it.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah, on that note, Al, too, I think we have recommended some actions tonight, and we still do recommend some of those actions. Certainly the seeker, the conditional use permit, and the waivers, we would recommend an approval, and it sounded as if those that commented had spoken to having a general problem with this lot being developed, but the concerns about drainage. And with respect to I think we'd also had a recommendation for a development plan review with some conditions. I would note that one of those conditions would be final acceptance of the Department of Water and Water Supply. While they have reviewed many iterations of this, they haven't fully endorsed it. And I think just given some of the comments that we heard, we may want to defer on that action tonight. We do have another meeting on November 1st, and hopefully we could meet with those parties concerned between now and then, and potentially revisit it if we can work out any
I do have a
drainage-related concerns.
question, Brad, regarding the snow that will be left on the property. And I don't know if it's within our purview or not, so if we can get some clarification on that. Is there something we can do within the permit that we say that they can't store more than 2 feet, 3 feet of snow on the property? Just to go towards that drainage issue and the issues that were raised.
Yeah, I mean, presumably the lot's gonna be graded so that it drains in the appropriate direction, but certainly you pile up enough snow that could go in a different direction. We haven't had that conversation before. I could certainly, we do speak in our code to having an area for snow storage on the lot, so. But there are some sites that are so small that you kind of have to come in and truck it out on a fairly regular basis, so. I think I'd want to confer with a couple of our engineers and see what their suggestion for that would be, if there's like a particular amount. We could look at it for sure.
Thank you.
And Michael, I think I did forward you the email correspondence that we had gotten, might have been from those that spoke tonight. Did you receive that, and did you have any opportunity to reach out to them or have any dialogue on this prior to the meeting tonight?
No, we have not.
Okay, any other comments by the staff?
No.
Okay. So we have a number of items before us in reference to this. The first one is negative declaration on the State and Environmental Quality Review Act. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
And seconded. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I want to clarify one thing before the next item. We're asked to approve the conditional use, but if we defer on condition 2 under the development plan review, that doesn't prevent us from approving conditional use, is that right?
That's correct. The conditional use would approve the use itself, but the plan layout and design still needs to be approved by the board.
Thank you. So we are also asked to approve the conditional use of the creating of the lot. I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Chris Ellis. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Martin Hall. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 That's approved. The waiver of development standard 405, parentheses 5B3, III, which is the location of the parking. Again, it's recommended to approve. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Glenis Gill and seconded by Martin Hall. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And aye, and it's unanimous. And the final waiver of development standard in this regards to street amenities, which will be relocated from that location, except of course the street trees, which have been presented and are on the plan, but the other items that would be required there will be relocated to Central Avenue. I'll make the motion to waive that development standard, 375-4035B. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chris Ellis. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, that's approved. And the final one is under the development plan review to approve with these conditions. Condition 1 is no longer relevant. Condition 3, prior to the issuance of a building permit, Plan Sheet MP-1, which is the maintenance protection of traffic, be revised as deemed necessary by the traffic engineering unit. And then condition 4 is prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall consolidate all the tax lots known as 69 to 85 Sherman Street. Do I have a motion to approve those conditions?
So moved.
Moved by Glenis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chris Ellis. Further discussion? All those in favor?
I have a question.
Yes.
Condition 4, I think that he testified that that has already been done, the consolidation of the lots. Am I wrong in saying that?
That's correct. The lots were consolidated in June of this year.
So that condition would be kind of moot?
That's been done.
I wanted to verify, the lot modification process, if that was completed. Because usually the application would come into the office, the maps are then picked up and then taken to the county, get it stamped and bring it back to us. I don't know if that process is complete yet. I'm not sure where the process is, I'd have to look into it, but I don't know if we've received the stamped maps
Yes, we have received stamp maps.
or if they've been communicated to us.
Oh, yes,
Okay,
they were forwarded to Brad.
okay,
And the map has been filed with the county as well.
okay, we'll verify that.
Yeah.
Okay, then condition 4 is irrelevant. So we are voting on condition 3, which is the maintenance and protection of traffic, which will be revised as deemed necessary by the traffic engineering unit.
So do we vote down this one and then do another motion?
As you call them out. So condition 3 does not apply, that leaves us with condition 1 and 2 here, which is condition 3 and 2 and 3 on your notes.
Okay.
No, condition 4 is condition 3 on our notes.
Right, so it would be condition, so these are what would be left.
1 and 2,
What,
based upon up here.
up here, correct. They have met the DGS requirement, and DGS signed off on the condition of the note that was asked to be on the plan. That happened earlier today.
Okay, I will rescind my motion.
I believe it was actually Vanessa's motion.
No, I did move it, so I will resend it. Yeah, so, I move that we amend my motion to this is weird because the numbers here don't match it. We amend our motion to consider both condition 1 and condition 2 based on the updated recommended actions from the planning board. Do I have to read out the conditions?
No, but I would suggest we vote on separately because I believe we should be deferring condition 2
Okay,
because of the concerns that have been raised.
okay,
And I just want to also make sure that that can be handled so that we can get that taken care of at the next planning board meeting.
oh, that's the one we are gonna defer, okay.
Yeah, which is number 1 up there.
Okay, so it sounds like there's 2 motions, one to approve based on condition 1, and, well, why wouldn't we defer the whole thing?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, yes, because you don't want to defer just the one thing that you want to do.
Right, as one condition, yeah, we should just defer this whole thing. I rescind my motion and then move to defer this until all the conditions are satisfied.
Okay, so it's been moved that conditions 1 and 2 upon the board be deferred until the next meeting, and with the assumption that it will be solved before the next meeting.
So, right, so we defer the entire action, right?
Right,
So moved.
okay.
No, yeah, you're right, we don't have to use it.
Do anything,
Right.
just not act.
Thank you, Chris. So those are deferred, and I encourage the applicant and planning staff to make sure that those get solved and that they're communicated also to the homeowners. Next item on the agenda is 271 Central Avenue, which is Hospitality House. And in the mixed-use form-based Central Avenue zoning district, there's the request to construct a 21,000 square foot addition to the existing building and the demolition of an 834 square foot building. Actions that we are considering tonight is a SECRA, a conditional use permit, a demolition review, and a development plan review. Again, this is a project that we have seen a number of times. I believe that they are ready to move forward on this. Sir.
Hi, my name is Bill McFritchie with First Parking Expert. The project is in the MUFC zone, this is form-based commercial. The entire project lies within that zone. The existing conditions are shown with the building that's currently exists on 270 and 271 Central Avenue with a parking lot on the corner of North Lake and Sherman Street. There's an existing building that's proposed to be demolished. It's shown on the plan, along with 7 parking spaces that currently serve the building. Site stats. The site plan proposes the addition at the corner of North Lake and Sherman Street, with the entrance centered on North Lake, and a side entrance and patio area towards the middle south portion of the site. The plan actually reduces the impervious area minimally. The existing site coverage contains 15.6%, and the proposed site coverage contains 16.1%. The sanitary sewer has been modified to not connect to the combined sewer in the center of Sherman Street, but we're running a separate sanitary sewer that's gonna ultimately connect to North Lake on the opposite side of the street. Our stormwater management system contains blue roofs and subsurface piping. Blue roofs, if you're not familiar, detain water on the roof.
No, we're familiar with it.
Okay,
You know, again, just hit the high point, you have 6 minutes, because we've seen this a number of times.
okay. So blue roof and stormwater management would be part of our stormwater. This is a view of North Lake Avenue. It shows the existing, the building on the right and the proposed addition on the left. We want to go through the balance of the elevation, we could. This is a view from Central Avenue. It shows the existing brick buildings are to remain. No changes in the facade. This is a view from Sherman Street, all new, with fiberglass cement panels and fiberglass windows, fiberglass trimmed windows, and glass storefront towards the bottom. And with that, I'll open up to the planning board for.
Can you just refresh everybody's memory, including the audience, as to what the use is?
Yeah, the current use is 72 beds. And in order to maintain that, the permit that they received for 72 units is going to be maintained, so there's no increase in the beds. The existing, or the proposed addition is more of a service and ancillary services for those 72 beds. So there's no increase in any beds. There's site photos with the existing building, which is going to remain.
So the addition is going to be developed for enhanced services or more integrated services to the existing residents?
Correct.
That's what
And offices for
offices, okay.
administrative needs for the facility.
Will you still be offering off-street parking, or will that be part of the expansion plan?
We've set up a lease agreement for the 7 off-street parking, 7 existing parking spaces that we're removing. And then the balance of the parking is associated through existing on-street parking.
Yeah, one of the things we're dealing with tonight is transportation management plan that they need to do.
Yeah, the transportation management plan sets up a couple of matrices that we've added on the site plan, or added to the project.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, do we have somebody from the public who wants to speak?
We do. Edward Mayer.
Thank you. Is Edward Mayer here? Is Edward Mayer on Zoom?
Not on Zoom, signed up to speak in person as well. I did see a gentleman leave a few minutes ago, I'm not sure if that was him.
Okay. All right.
So, I do have a question. In the application, and talks about the Oasis Guidelines, and there was a change, the state made a change that required you to add on the new square footage. What precipitated the change? And now that you have the new space, I understand you're maintaining 72 now, but what would be the process for you to increase the number of beds?
Obviously, an application, I can't really speak to the exact process for that. Maybe Young could speak to that.
Hi, my name is Young Bill. I'm the Executive Director of Hospitality House. So the state essentially.
Turn it on, please.
So essentially, the state, through their Medicaid redesign, had basically said that residential programs like ours would add certain clinical services, which includes basic primary care for our residents. So basically, the addition of the services is nursing staff, medical director, additional offices to serve the residents. So there is no plan to go above the 72 beds.
Good.
Okay. Any further questions while we're here? Okay.
I'm just thinking about like that's a hell of a adjustment that the state would make in the organization.
Yeah.
Right, you looking at big numbers, 13,544 square feet to 34,868 square feet to meet current Oasis guidelines for stabilization rehabilitation services. That's an additional 20,000 square feet. I'm sure it's not cheap.
Okay, staff recommendations on this one.
So again, this one, there's a number of actions. Seeker, we would recommend a negative declaration. We don't see any substantial impact with respect to the environment as a result of the project of this size. Conditional use permit, we're recommending approval with conditions. The conditions being that the use be limited to the 72 bed capacity that's proposed. That would essentially stipulate that if the applicant were to expand bed capacity, they would need to come back to this board to amend or seek a new conditional use permit. Demolition review, recommending approval with conditions. The condition is really optional. It's just kind of stipulating that the demolition be limited to the specific area of the building that's outlined here. We've had other cases where they've gone a bit beyond what was intended to be demolished, so we just wanted to add that, or recommend adding that to clarify for other departments that may be dealing with that approval going forward. And then development plan review, we're recommending approval with conditions, and that's that prior to the issuance of the building permit. Plan sheet C9, it's the maintenance and protection traffic plan, be revised and adjusted as deemed necessary by the traffic engineering unit. We hadn't received their sign off yet, but we're gonna have to have this reviewed for some time. And then also prior to the issuance of building permit, that the chief planning official, be myself, endorses the transportation demand management program that's been put forward. As stated, that would include the spaces for lease at the Albany Parking Authority lot that's just up the street on Central Avenue, as well as a number of having a transportation demand program manager, being adjacent to transit, incorporating bicycle parking, things of that nature. We did review their operations, and I believe it's at peak employment. I believe there's 17 employees there. So 7 of them would have the parking spaces, and then 10 would be by other means, which is not all that different from what's there now. And again, the residents aren't expected to have vehicles in this case. So rather than calculating by a total square footage, we're essentially going by the employment demand at peak shift.
Okay, questions of the staff?
What else is included in the transportation demand management plan beyond the lease spaces?
Just Lee, if you could go to that slide with the the matrix and the boxes checked. And
Is there a way to increase that? Like,
Oh, you can walk up and look at it, I guess.
yeah, I don't know,
I'm
gonna let the
asking,
applicant speak to specifically what they're doing. We had put together this matrix just to have sort of a common way of approaching these requests, so we have some consistency, and these are looking at other communities, the different types of, credits that they offer.
Roman, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure bike parking and transit passes was on there, so.
Yeah, transit pass is a big one. I'm sorry for not noting that, but universal access pass essentially would mean that each of the employees would be given a bus pass, and the employer would essentially pay per use or something to that accord. Usually it's a negotiated price, but CDTA is a bit less than the standard price.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions?
Can you scroll? Thank you.
So the ones checked are the ones that they're
I didn't see
moving
that.
forward on,
I
or
didn't see it.
the transportation management plan.
That's correct, and assuming they calculate out and to meet a certain threshold, which we believe they do, but if they don't, we could certainly discuss them about adding an additional measure to offset. But we think with this, we were concerned about replacing those 7 spaces, and they were able to do that, so we think we can work with them to develop a program for the remaining.
Okay, so we will move to the recommended actions. First is a negative declaration on the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Do I have a motion?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, moved by Chris Ellis, seconded by Martin Hall. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Recommended action on the conditional use permit, which is to approve the conditional use permit with the condition that the use shall be limited to the proposed 72-bed residency capacity. So if there was an inkling to increase this, we would have to come back to the board.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Denise Gillard, seconded by Chris Ellis. Further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. In reference to the demolition review, this is to be approved with conditions, and that being that the demolition shall be only limited to the 834 square foot building. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Denise Gillard and seconded by Chris Ellis. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 And then the final one, which is the development plan review, again, approve this with conditions as discussed. And number one is that prior to the issue of the building permit, plan sheet C9 is the maintenance protection and traffic plan shall be revised as deemed necessary by the traffic engineering department. And condition 2, the one we just discussed, prior to the issuance of the building permit, the project shall satisfy the minimum parking requirements or receive approval of the chief planning official, Mr. Glass, for an alternative parking plan that reduces off-street parking requirements below those shown in the table 375.405.1, based on a parking demand study and transportation demand management program. With those conditions, I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Vanessa and seconded by Chris Ellis. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, everything passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have 2 more items on the agenda. These are very similar. The first one is 303 Hudson Avenue. The applicant is Vince Marone. And this is an RT residential district, which is a proposal to convert a dwelling townhouse from 2 to 3 units. And the action under consideration is conditional use permit review. Mr. Malone.
Thank you very much. So this is a house I recently purchased. It uses the two units or living, is that close enough?
Because I'm not hearing them either.
There you go.
There we go. Is it better?
Yes.
So, it was a house that's been used for about 25 years by the previous owner. She used the top floor to run her business, and she rented out the bottom, the basement floor, and the first floor of the building. So I recently purchased from her. I'm looking to rent out the top floor as well. The house was set up, it has 3 apartments, it already has 3 separate utilities. The upstairs basically was an apartment. It's just, she just never put a stove or a refrigerator in there because she didn't use it for living purposes. But we have a business there with 3 people who worked in the office with her every day of the week. I'm not sure what else you need. The garbage in the building is in the back. There's a rather substantial set of stairs that connects all 3 floors to the garden in the back. And there's about a 4-foot landing, square foot landing on each floor. And the garbage for each floor is on that landing in the back of the house. And I'm happy to answer the questions that you might have.
How would you get the trash from the back of the house to the street?
The tenants just carry it through the building. I mean, they're basically flats that are front to back. The back door is off the bedroom. There's a landing there. They just carry it out to the curb.
Okay, so it's not a great big garbage can right there?
No, I mean, these are 1-bedroom apartments. They're not, you don't have families living there, so you don't have too much garbage.
Okay.
Is there a separation between the neighboring buildings or like a little walkthrough?
No, these are, if you're familiar with that block, these are 1850s row houses. There's about 16 of them in a row. They're all identical. There's no alleyways.
Yeah, I drove down there, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, thank you.
It's sort of classic Center Square.
So it doesn't sound like, other than probably updating the apartments, there's no major renovation you need to do.
I could rent them all. I mean, they were the ones in the basement, the second floor, the first floor, I call it, I guess. I've already rented. One person just moved out. Other person's in there. The top floor actually is the nicest floor in the building, because she uses it all the time. But it was a house that was rented, I think, about 25 years ago. So it has the drywall, and it has no electrical, there's no plumbing. You know, the structure internally is very good, actually, in the house. Just needs some updating, basics.
Any other questions to Mr. Malone? Okay, staff recommendation. Oh, let me see, there's nobody signed up to speak, yes?
Nobody signed up to speak.
Okay, staff recommendation.
So I did have some reservations when I first looked over the application, and that's just in the context of there's 16 identical buildings, 299 to 329 Hudson Avenue. Currently 3 are single unit and 13 are 2 unit. There aren't any 3 units. Looking in greater detail, and as the applicant stated, it does seem as if there's a history here, and it is sort of set up as a 3 unit, was just being used otherwise. So am somewhat sympathetic to that. There are also, this building's a little bit larger than the other buildings in that row. There are 3 of the buildings that look to have had addition on the back, including this one. So my general advice to the board would be, the board does choose to act in the affirmative, that just be stated and stipulated for the record that there's a uniqueness about this property, as stated, because certainly if all those buildings were to be changed to 3 units, I think that we'd be looking at some qualitative impacts to quality of life that we might want to take a harder look at. So that was my concern, was more of a collective concern, looking at that block as a whole. But as given the particulars of this application, I really don't see an objection to it. I think our recommendation on the memo is to defer. The board would potentially, could consult the neighborhood association or have a further dialogue on this, but we haven't heard from them to date, and I believe we did send them notice, so perhaps they don't have any objections. So I guess I would say, if the board feels comfortable approving this, but only with, with certain caveats with respect to the uniqueness of this property, we could certainly add that to the draft of the case.
Yeah, I think the key here is that those other buildings, there are 13 of them, are two-story, and the only way to get a larger unit would be to build on the top or something. You only have 3 buildings on that whole block that are larger and have an extension out the back. And as far as, there's been no connection to the planning board staff from the Hudson Park Association, and a letter went to them notifying them, and all the residents from 250 feet in each direction got letters, so apparently it's not a big deal, because Hudson Park is usually pretty much on target when they want to discuss an issue, as we know.
We sent a letter directly to them. Yeah. Oh, we sent a letter directly to Hudson Park?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay, since we can move forward on this, then I would entertain a motion to approve the conditional use permit. And first of all, let me ask the staff before we do that, do we have to make a negative declaration for seeker, or is it?
I would encourage you to do it just in case it may be an exempt action, but that's a good catch, Alan. I would go ahead and do that.
Okay.
So dramatic.
It seems like the State Environmental Quality Review Act goes down to the smallest projects. So I'll entertain a motion to approve a negative declaration on secret.
So moved.
Moved and seconded, Vanessa Guerin and Chris Ellis. Any comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And with recommended action would be conditional use approval for the development of 3 units. Trying to incorporate what you had mentioned.
We can, it's been discussed, and we can add that language into the formal document.
Okay. So recommended conditional use permit approval. I will make a motion to approve. Seconded by Chris Ellis. Further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And our last item on the agenda is very similar. This is 86 Handicapped Boulevard. The applicant is Babs Holding Company, represented by Robert Cordell. This is an R2 residential zone, and it's for the conversion of, in this case, a single unit detached property from 1 unit to 2. And this would be a conditional use. Is there an applicant here?
The applicant is presenting via Zoom.
Okay, the applicant is presenting by Zoom.
Is it my turn to speak?
Yes,
I'm
Robert.
Okay. Am I just on audio or am I on video also?
Robert, is it possible to turn your camera on?
Yeah, it's possible if I knew how to do it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't know. Let me work on that. My name is Robert Cordell, and I want to introduce myself so you have some idea who I am. I spent.
Robert, could you speak a bit louder, please?
Okay.
The microphone.
My name is Robert Cordell. I spent 30 years as Chief Commercial Building Inspector, Town of Colony. Most of that time I served as staff to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So just to say that so that you have an idea that I understand your process, okay? The proposal before you tonight is simply to, I guess, legitimize, legalize something that has been in the state it's in now since 1963. This building was constructed in 1963, and the plans that we found were the original plans show the building pretty much as it is now. The second floor contains 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, a dining area, living room, 2 exits independent of each other to the exterior. The first floor, and the second floor is about 1,011 square feet. First floor is, just let me back up a minute. The first floor is actually at the second floor level because the front of the basement is completely exposed. There's a drive-in garage, okay? When I speak of the first floor and second floor, I'm not speaking of the grade level. I'm speaking of the 2 levels above, okay? So the first floor, the main floor level, contains 1,356 square feet. The lot size is 5,500 square feet, which is twice the size of the lot size that's required in that zoning district. It's an R2 zoning district. 2-family dwellings are permitted use. And the building, when I looked at the building, to figure out whether or not it was originally constructed as a 2-family or a 1-family, I looked behind the walls. I look at the plumbing. This building has copper pipe, cast iron pipe, things that are not used in probably the last 40 years. Nobody's using copper pipe in residential structures anymore. It's simply too expensive. So my point is, everything about this building is as it was, to the best of my knowledge, in 1963. It was constructed in 1963 the way it is now. It's got 2 kitchens, 2 laundry facilities, one on the top floor and one on the main floor. It's got 2 completely different HVAC systems, 2 completely different gas meters and electric meters. The first floor has its own independent exiting to the exterior in the front and the back, and as well as access to the basement. This building was constructed the way it is now. I keep saying that. It was constructed as a 2-family dwelling, and I don't know why it was never formally recognized by the city as a 2-family dwelling, except maybe if it was used by a family, extended family, I don't know, but there's 2 dwelling units here. So I spent a lot of my time trying to get that on the table. I would like to address some of the items that we're required to comply with in the conditional use permit standards. An application for conditional use permit shall be approved only if it is determined that it, number 1, is consistent with the provisions of this USDO and the Albany City Code, and it is, a 2-family is a permitted use in the R2 zoning district. Would not result in a random pattern of development with little relationship to existing or planned development. I would submit that the development in this neighborhood is existing, and the 2-family use has been existing since 1963. without apparent impact on the neighborhood. Number 3 would not cause negative fiscal or environmental impacts on adjacent properties and the surrounding neighborhood. I mean, as I said, this use has been existing since 1963. Any impact on the neighborhood, I believe, will only improve if this building is regulated and inspected as a two-family dwelling by the city. Is consistent with the purposes and objective of the zoning district. The two-family dwelling is a permitted use again. The next one is it will not result in a harmful cumulative effect or impact or of aggregate similar conditional uses. I take that to mean that if there are already additional dwelling units in there and we wanted to add above that number, that we would be maybe putting too much dwelling units on the site. And in this case, we're only going from 1 to 2. I don't think that's a problem. And would not place an excessive burden on the public improvements, facilities, services, or utilities. And again, that's use has been existing. I believe any burden has been going on for a long time and has been accounted for. The last one is will provide a necessary and desirable service that is in the interest of public convenience and will contribute to the general welfare of the surrounding neighborhood or community. We need additional legal housing units in the city and in the community as a whole, in my opinion. And by having this second dwelling unit recognized and codified by the city, it will be subject to the regular inspections, as are all two-family dwellings, regular inspections by the Department of Buildings. So it is going to end up as a better, safer dwelling and building for both the inhabitants of the building and the neighbors. The other portion of our duty here is to comply with residential conversions, part 8 of your code, conversion of a detached dwelling. We can't have a detached dwelling unless the following standards are met. And the lot on which the dwelling structure is located contains at least the minimum lot area required in the applicable zoning district. Again, we have 500 or 5,500 square feet, and the required minimum is 2,250 square feet. So we're twice as big as we're required to be. Number 2, the conversion will not result in a total number of dwelling units that exceeds the maximum number allowed in the applicable zoning district. Again, the applicable zoning district is R2. It allows 2 dwelling units. We're proposing a total of 2 dwelling units. Number 3, upon application, the dwelling structure contains no fewer than 800 square feet of improved gross floor area for each existing and proposed dwelling unit. As I stated, the main floor has 1,356 square feet, and the second floor dwelling unit has 1,110 square feet. So we're above 800. The last item is any external alterations to the building proposed in accommodation of the conversion comply with section 375-407, building and street safe design. We're proposing no exterior modifications. So that's my presentation, and I'm happy to answer questions. I think that's probably the best way.
Does the board have any questions?
Any questions by the staff, by the board? Okay. Staff recommendations. Recommended action for the conditional use permit is to approve. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Are there any speakers on this?
No, there's no speakers.
No.
Okay. And so moved.
Moved by,
Seconded.
and seconded by Martin Hall, moved by Glenn Scudder. Any further questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cordell.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present my case, and I appreciate your help in this situation.
Any other business before the board? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay. Thank you very much. Somebody's anxious to keep us safe before we get like this.
Are they playing? Are the Yankees playing tonight? Thanks so much. Yeah.